The foster son of the Sterling political dynasty had killed a civilian girl during a drug-fueled rage, sparking public outcry. However, the High Chancellor, remembering the past military contributions of Senator Richard Sterling, decreed that the family could offer a substitute to serve 5 years in the Blackgate Penitentiary, a hellhole known for its daily corporal punishment, to set an example. Julian Sterling, the perpetrator, wept in terror at the prospect. That night, my older sister, Victoria Sterling, stormed into my room with the family's private security detail, forcing me to take the fall for the adopted golden boy. "Caleb, you've trained in the esoteric arts with that old mystic since you were a child. Your body is hardened. You can survive 5 years in Blackgate," she said coldly. "But Julian is frail. If he goes in, he'll die. Don't worry," Father says. "When you get out, the Sterling legacy will still be yours." I glanced at my parents, who stood silently in the hallway, and suppressed my nausea, nodding in agreement. They didn't know that my agreement to return to this biological family was merely to fulfill my late master's dying wish, to experience the mortal world for 5 years and sever these mundane attachments. Taking the fall for the foster son was my tribulation, but also a blessing. Rotting in Blackgate for 5 years meant I wouldn't have to look at their disgusting faces. Julian, hiding behind Mother, stepped forward with fake tears in his eyes. "Big brother, I will forever engrave this kindness in my heart." I smiled, channeling my internal energy. Julian screamed, clutching his groin as he collapsed, his reproductive organs crushed by a swift, precise kick as he rolled on the floor in agony. I laughed. "That's the punishment you deserve. Let's see you ruin anyone else's life now." I walked out to the transport van without looking back at the chaos erupting in the Sterling estate. 5 years later, I walked out of Blackgate on schedule. In front of the crowd, I ignited a talisman, declaring to the heavens that my blood ties with the Sterling family were severed. The family, however, was frantic with regret. "Master Caleb, you are released. Lady Victoria is here personally to bring you home," the warden said. "This is a new bespoke suit your sister sent. She's grateful you saved him back then. Otherwise, the family would have been ruined." "Thanks, warden." I took the suit with a smile. "Consider the debt paid. Your care over these 5 years, and this suit clears the karma between us." I changed and walked out into the blinding sunlight. Victoria was waiting by the luxury SUV. Years had made her colder, her designer blue dress giving off an air of untouchable arrogance. From the guard chatter, I knew the score. The year after I went in, she married a wealthy merchant's son, but divorced him a year later, seizing his entire fortune. Now the capital's elite whispered that she was a black widow, a woman who devoured men whole. Seeing me sigh, Victoria approached, her eyes dead like stagnant water. "I knew you'd survive. You look like you did well inside." I read her face and took a subtle step back. This woman hadn't just divorced. She had blood on her hands, specifically the blood of 2 unborn children. She had undergone 2 abortions in these few years. I smoothed my suit and smirked. 5 years in a dark cell, 500 lashes. Why don't you try it? It might cleanse some of your sins. A flicker of unease crossed her eyes, but she stiffened. Caleb dropped the mystic act. "Come home. Mom and Dad have been waiting and apologized to Julian since you crippled him. He hasn't been able to lift his head in society." "Oh, heartbroken for him." I looked at her mockingly. "That doesn't look like sisterly concern, Les." "Shut your mouth." Victoria snapped like a cat whose tail was stepped on. "He may not be Sterling blood, but he's your brother. You crippled him over some peasant girl. Don't you think you went too far?" I laughed out of pure anger. Compared to this family, I was a saint. I agreed to go back, not for reconciliation, but to finalize the severance ritual. Cutting ties in the mystic arts wasn't just words, it required presence. I was the son lost for 12 years, found at 15. I had yearned for parental love, seeing other children with their families. But when I returned, Julian had taken my place. They loved the fake son more than the real one. Father thought my rustic upbringing was embarrassing and beat me to teach me manners. Mother always sided with Julian, and my sister only cared about herself and Julian. I had no reason to stay. I just wanted to finish the ritual and leave to continue my master's lineage. Yet, strangely, the faint familial bond hadn't fully snapped. "Are you coming or not?" Victoria demanded. "Let's go," I said, stepping into the car. I hoped the plan would go smoothly. The Sterling estate was a monument to old money and power in the capital. The ancestors earned their status through military conquest, securing the family's place in history. Walking into the main hall, I was hit by a suffocating pressure. I frowned, scanning my parents in the main seats and the pale feminine Julian. My gaze landed on a figure in black robes, sitting nearby. His face was etched with death, covered in tribal tattoos. A necromancer. Why would a political family hire a Dar practitioner? Mother's crying interrupted my thoughts. "Caleb, you're finally out." She rushed over. "You suffered for 5 years. We will make it up to you." She reached for my hand, but I slapped it away. "Caleb Sterling, what is the meaning of this?" Senator Richard Sterling slammed the table. "Is this how you treat your mother? Have you forgotten your manners?" I sneered internally. They never taught me manners. They only beat me with canes. Julian interjected. "Father, don't be angry. Big brother has suffered. He has a right to be resentful." His voice, high-pitched and strange, combined with his affected mannerisms, made my skin crawl. "Brother, if you need a vent, hit me." Julian offered his face, his eyes gleaming with provocation. "Dare you hit me?" My temples throbbed. I calmed my breathing and gritted out, "Fine." I swung my hand to slap him. Suddenly, a tendril of black mist wrapped around my wrist, stopping the blow. "Why the aggression, Mr. Sterling?" the necromancer rasped. "Families should live in harmony." I narrowed my eyes, then sneered. "Fina, you take it for him." I whispered a mantra. "Source of the void, root of all energy, golden aura, protect my form." A burst of gold light shattered the black mist and formed a palm print that slammed into the necromancer. Arc! He flew back like a broken kite, crashing into a petition screen and vomiting blood. Richard shouted, "Enough! Caleb, you're still this unruly. 5 years of prison taught you nothing." I scoffed. "I was kidnapped at 3. Did you raise me? If not for my master, I'd be dead. You brought this fake son home a month after I was lost. What right do you have to lecture me?" I looked between Richard and Julian. "Do you two have some unspeakable relationship?" "You insolent!" Richard roared, charging at me with killing intent. "Today I will teach you a lesson." I deflected his strike with my aura and dislocated his arm with a fluid motion. Snap! The sound of bone separating echoed. Richard, a former soldier, only grunted. The room went silent. "Caleb, how could you?" Mother wept. "Stop." I cut her off. "I came to sever ties, not to chat. From now on, we are strangers." I ordered the butler to bring cinnabar paper and ink. "Wait." Richard reset his arm with a grimace. "You really wanted to save the family?" "Yes." His eyes turned icy. "Fina, but you must do one thing first. The necromancer says Julian needs the vital essence of a pure young male to restore his manhood. You're that match. Give the blood and you can go." I didn't answer. I formed a hand seal and scanned the room. My sight locked on Julian in the corner. His eyes held venomous murder. The divination was clear. The source of my life tribulation was him. He planned to trick them into taking my essence, ruining my foundation, and then kill me when I was weak. I calculated further. The tribulation wasn't over. Prison was just the start. I couldn't dodge it. I had to face it. "Agreed," I said coldly, "but sign the severance papers first." "Your word means nothing." Thunder rumbled outside. The clear sky turned dark. A warning from the heavens. I caught my mind. Richard signed. Mother pleaded. "Caleb." Julian was an orphan. "Shut up." I sealed her voice with a pressure point strike. "You call yourself a mother. You let your son rot in jail for an adoptee. You let them drain my life for him. You ignore your own blood, but do on a fake. Look at your creations." I pointed at Julian and Victoria, a rapist, murderer, and a black widow. Tears streamed down her face as she shook her head. "You deserve to be disowned by the Van Cess. Uncle Marcus was right to ban you from the ancestral home." She collapsed. Uncle Marcus, a high-ranking general, had cut her off from marrying Richard, a man who schemed for titles. I walked to the necromancer, and crippled his cultivation with a touch. Then I burned the severance papers with a talisman. I felt the bloodline bond snap. I was free. Now the blood, Richard asked, cold as ice. Bring a dagger and a vial. I'll do it. Wait. The necromancer staggered up. Use this bone dagger. It's required for the ritual. I took the rune-carved blade. It seemed normal, but as I held it, the necromancer chanted. The dagger turned into a streak of black light and plunged into my heart. Before I could react, a paralyzing pain spread through me. I collapsed, helpless. It's done. Julian ran over ecstatic. Caleb, thought you were tough. Can't handle a little heart rot? You ruined my root. I'll dig out your heart. I couldn't speak, staring at his mad face. I've been too naive. Julian, you lied to me. Richard realized then. Father, I had to. He has to die for me to feel safe. Julian looked down at me with triumph. As I faded into darkness, I heard a familiar shout. In my dream, I was 3. Richard and a beautiful woman entered my room. Take him, Richard told his mistress. Once my wife stops looking, I'll bring our son Julian into the estate. The mistress took me to a wasteland. Blame your bad luck, kid. You're blocking my son's path. Just as she raised a knife, a shout exploded. Wicked woman, spare the child. An elderly man with an ethereal presence appeared, scooping me up. When the woman tried to strike again, the old man radiated a golden light, shielding me while delivering a palm strike to the crown of her head. The woman's head exploded, a gruesome sight that scared me into unconsciousness. After that, I remember being taken away, but the trauma erased the specifics of my identity. I only knew my surname was Sterling from my jade pendant. The master named me Caleb. I opened my eyes to find myself in a soft bed. My chest throbbed. I peered under my shirt. A bandage covered the wound, stained with blood. A booming voice interrupted me. Don't move. You'll tear the stitches. I turned my head. A burly middle-aged man in a military uniform stood there. Uncle Marcus? I was shocked. You're back from the frontier. Is this the Vance estate? Correct. His stern face softened into a smile. I knew you were getting out, so I rushed back. Still, I was a step late. Guilt washed over his face. It's okay, Uncle. I shook my head. My foundation isn't destroyed. I just need time and alchemy to heal. The memory of Julian's twisted face made me want to rip him apart. Easy, kid. Uncle Marcus frowned. Rage will worsen your injury. I recited a calming mantra. After a moment, I asked what happened. Uncle's face darkened. It wasn't him who arrived first, but Aunt Vance. When the storm clouds gathered over the Sterling estate, she sensed danger and raided the place with her guards. By the time she broke in, I was on the floor. Julian was being scolded by Richard, his lie about the cure exposed. Uncle arrived shortly after, beat Richard bloody, executed the necromancer, and forced them to release the curse. To appease Uncle Marcus, Richard imprisoned Julian in a side wing, grounded for 3 years. Mother was hysterical, but Uncle took me away. What's the plan, Caleb? Uncle asked. Don't do anything stupid. Richard lost his military command, but he's still a senator. Killing him makes you a fugitive. I smiled grimly. Don't worry, I won't be reckless. I just want to give them a lesson they'll never forget. Good. Uncle relaxed. By the way, your mother has been struck from our family registry. She's no longer a Vance. I nodded, feeling nothing. Did you really sever ties? Yes, a spiritual severance. And for us, I explained the nuances to reassure him. Uncle Marcus had always protected me. When I went to prison, he was the one who lobbied the president to strip Richard of his military command as punishment. A month later, I was mostly healed. One morning, while I was teaching Uncle and his family some Qigong breathing techniques, the butler announced Victoria Sterling was at the gate. Uncle wanted to throw her out, but I stopped him. My tribulation wasn't fully over. I had to face it. Victoria looked the same, cold and distant, but with a complex glint in her eyes. Caleb, how is your wound? She asked, forcing a smile. I brought you a phoenix root. It's 1,000 years old. I raised an eyebrow. A rare treasure. I accepted it as interest on the debt they owed me. Speak. What do you want? I asked. Victoria stiffened, then reverted to her cold persona. Since Father lost his command, the The family status is shaky. We need you to return and marry into another family to secure an alliance. You're dreaming. We are realistic. Julian is ruined. Father has given up on him. You are the only heir. I just owned you. Blood is thicker than water. Father says, if you agree, the estate is yours. I looked at her, baffled by her confidence. Butler, show her out. You really won't come back. Her eyes turned icy. This is your last chance. You people have no leverage. Oh, she sneered. I heard your master is buried in the mountains behind the old Deus temple, North Quadrant. My pupil shrank. How did she know? I hired 10 GM answers to find it, she gloated. I've already dug up his bones and hidden them. Still want to refuse. My nails dug into my palms. I wanted to kill her, but I couldn't risk the master's remains. I suppressed my killing intent. Fina, I'll do the marriage alliance, but return the bones. If you lie, I will bury the entire Sterling family with him. My aura flared, forcing her back. Don't worry. Just obey, and I'll return them. Wait here. I need to tell my uncle. I'll walk back into the house. An hour later, ignoring the worried looks of the Vance family, I returned to the Sterling estate with Victoria. In the main hall, only Richard sat sipping tea, deliberately making me wait. I wasn't anxious. I had already decided. If they played games, I would slaughter them all and live as a fugitive. This was my final shred of patience. Richard put down his cup. Don't blame me. It is your duty to sacrifice for the family. The marriage is with the Duke of West Haven's youngest daughter. The wedding is in 2 weeks. I stayed silent, thinking the Duke was the president's brother, a man obsessed with seizing power. This alliance was a trap. You just need to show up, Richard said. Hand over my master's remains, I said. Swear an oath first. Before he could finish, barking dogs and maniacal laughter erupted from the courtyard. A bad premonition hit me. I walked out, Richard following in confusion. In the yard, vicious dogs were fighting over food. Julian stood there pouring white powder and bone fragments into dog bowls. It looked like human remains. My mind went blank. Victoria ran in. Julian, how dare you touch the remains? My body went cold. Julian saw me and grinned, a sick, twisted expression. Ha, Caleb. I burned your master's bones to ash and fed them to the dogs. How does it feel? Angry? Despair? He looked like he wanted me to die of grief. I staggered, pointing a trembling finger at him. Victoria looked away, indifferent. Rage choked me until I spat a mouthful of dark blood onto the patio stones. My vision turned red. My black hair turned stark white in an instant. You want to die? I roared, launching myself at Julian. He didn't flinch. Just as I was about to strike, a shadow blurred. A body intercepted my palm strike, flying backward with Julian. The interceptor died instantly. Shadow Guard, Richard gasped. You stole my command token. I glared at Richard. My own elite mercenaries, he whispered. They obey the token, not the person. I ground my teeth. Then you all die together. Julian scrambled up, waving a black iron token. 500 Shadow Guards, kill Caleb Sterling. Hundreds of black-clad figures swarmed over the walls. I chanted the golden aura mantra, pushing my body to the limit, and charged. I was surrounded. My golden light began to crack under the relentless assault. Julian taunted me from safety. Is that all you got? Come kill me. My rage fueled me. I ignored injuries, trading blood for lives. After what felt like an eternity, the last guard fell. I walked toward Julian, blood dripping from my chin. His smugness turned to terror. Be big, brother. I was just confused. I grabbed him by the throat, lifting him off the ground. Julian, Caleb, don't. He dies, I shouted. As I squeezed, a blade of wind hit my back, shattering my remaining aura. I was stabbed from behind. I dropped Julian. Richard stood there, withdrawing a blade, shielding his foster son. Enough. Not enough. I screamed. He tries to kill me. And you protect this bastard. Is my son? Richard yelled. And what am I? I laughed maniacally. I know everything now. You and his mother kidnapped me. You killed your mistress to hide your secret. Richard stumbled back. Ching-Han's death. My master killed her. I activated a forbidden technique, my body flickering. I can't kill you all today, but next time you won't be lucky. I looked at my biological mother, who had just run in. You won't escape either. I vanished into thin air, teleporting out of the Sterling estate. I reappeared in a forest outside the capital. Swallowing my remaining healing pills, I ran to the old temple. It was in ruins. I knelt before the statue of the three pure ones and began to prostrate 100 times. Boom! A secret door opened in the statue's base. A small room, a table with 2 vials, and a letter. It was from my master. Disciple, if you're reading this, I am likely gone without a trace. I wept, wiping tears to read on. Do not grieve. This is your tribulation. I left 2 pills. Blue is the grand panacea for healing and power. White is the life extension pill, adding 20 years. Use them well. My only advice, keep your Taoist heart steady. Cut what must be cut. I understood. I took the blue vial. I sat in meditation and swallowed it. Energy surged. An hour later, I was healed. Another hour, and my cultivation had advanced 10 years. My meridians widened. I stood up, bones cracking with power. I picked up the white vial. I had an idea. I bowed to the void. Thank you, Master. I marched toward the capital. Late that night, I stood in the Oval Office watching the High Chancellor, the leader of the nation, digest the pill. His gray face turned rosy, his white hair darkening. He looked 20 years younger. An hour ago, I had told Uncle Marcus my plan. He took me to the palace. When I offered the pill, the Chancellor took it without hesitation. The Chancellor stretched. I haven't felt this good in decades. Seeing my confusion, the Chancellor smiled. I asked her master, Magister Alaric, for this pill years ago. He said the time wasn't right, that I had to wait for his disciple to offer it freely. Your master was a legendary alchemist, but eccentric. Even I had to yield to him. An alchemist? Master never taught me that. I guess I had no talent for it. The Chancellor continued, shocking me further. You want revenge on the Stirrings? Granted, I knew of your situation, but Alaric made me promise not to interfere until you brought the pill. I twitched. Master had planned everything. I tried asking about him, but the Chancellor only said he might have truly ascended to a higher plane. So the Chancellor said, besides destroying the Stirrings, what do you want? I want an ironclad immunity decree from my uncle, General Vance. That's it. Done. Tomorrow morning, someone will bring the decree and all the evidence of Richard Sterling's crimes to you. That person will bring the royal guard to assist you. I was stunned. The Chancellor had the evidence all along. He was just waiting. Kid, your master masked my fate. You can't read me. He chuckled. Go. I left the palace. The Stirrings were finished. The next morning, I led the royal guard to the Sterling estate. We smashed through the gates. Richard, Eleanor, and the others ran out. Seeing the royal guard commander, their faces paled. Richard Sterling, I announced, you maintained a private army, plotted treason with the Duke of Westhaven, and sold military secrets. You're under arrest. Execution at noon tomorrow. Where is the warrant? No warrant needed. I patted the commander's shoulder. He produced the golden edict. Richard collapsed. The commander read the list of crimes, including Julian's murders and rapes, which Richard had covered up. Upon hearing the sentence of immediate execution, Richard looked like a dead man. He knew there was no escape. Eleanor ran to me. Caleb, he is your father. Beg the Chancellor for mercy. Victoria grabbed my leg. Brother, I'm your sister. Spare me, and I'll be your servant. Shut up. I kick her away. Sister, you never looked at me. You promised to protect Master's bones and fed them to dogs. I kicked her again until she coughed blood. Eleanor tried to intervene. You stupid woman, I yelled. You dote on the mistress's son and ignore your own. Do you know who kidnapped me? Richard and his lover, Ching Han, to make room for Julian. Eleanor's eyes widened. No, Richard said he cut ties with her. I narrowed my eyes. She had suspected it, but chose to live in denial. Pathetic. The guards dragged Julian out. Let me go. My dad is the senator. The guard pistol-whipped him. Julian saw me and started screaming obscenities. Shut up, eunuch. I dislocated his jaw. Listen to your sentence. The Chancellor had given me full discretion. First, Richard's execution for treason. I slapped a beast rune on him, so his next life would be his livestock. Second, Julian, I ordered his hands and feet crushed and threw him into the general population of the worst prison, where he would be the plaything of violent inmates. Third, Eleanor, stripped of status, branded as a traitor, and exiled to the freezing borderlands to work as a laborer. Fourth, Victoria, stripped of status and sent to the underground, a place for the lowest of the low to serve the dregs of society. I believed in karma. They had to taste the fruit they planted. I ordered the sterling fortune confiscated. I walked away as they wailed. It was over. The shackles on my heart shattered. I was close to ascension. 3 years later, I sat in the restored temple reading a letter from Uncle Marcus. Eleanor had died in a shack on the border, mad with grief. Victoria and Julian were dead, too. Victoria had tricked a wealthy man into buying her freedom, but he turned out to be a sadist. She took her own life. Julian lasted less than a day in prison before the inmates beat him to death. The karma was cleared. I looked at the snow falling outside. I felt the call. I finished my final lesson with my new disciples. I went to my room, left a letter for Uncle, and sat before the altar. I entered the void. A white jade palace appeared in the chaos. Standing at the gate was an old man with a transcendent aura smiling at me. Disciple, I have been waiting for you. Story complete.